Tea Talk Show.
Hello.
We are so grateful to be back here another month in the month of August. To God be the glory.
Yes.
Third Sunday Tea Talk Show is where we educate, advocate, and we celebrate.
Yes.
So we start off by thanking our sponsors, as always. Tea by Julia Faye. Camille Warren is a faithful contributor to Third Sunday Tea Talk Show, and she lives in Tennessee.
Amen.
And we have Reverend Andrea King, who
Thank you,
supports
Lord.
our show,
Yes.
and so many others.
Yes.
We also have Lincoln Heritage Final Expense Company. Anyone who needs some final expense coverage, reach out to us. Send information via our website at www.thirdsundayteatalkshow.com.
Amen.
And of course, we also have
Defining Moments Travel.
Defining Moments Travel, which we absolutely love. The services are available, and the president CEO is right here beside me.
Hello.
My co-host, welcome.
Hey. Welcome. Hey, Facebook family, please hit your share button and share. This is going to be an amazing show on today. We have a wonderful man of God who's going to talk about a very serious topic, and we want this information to get out there. So please hit share and share this program for us today.
Absolutely. So we're grateful for today to have our featured guest,
Yes.
Mr. William Battle.
Hello,
Welcome
hello,
to the
hello
show.
out there, and hello out there in Facebook land,
Yes.
or am I
Facebook
correct with
land.
that?
Yes.
And on VoxWave.com.
And VoxWave.com.
However you're watching us.
However you're watching us. So thank you for joining us. Mr. Battle, he is the founder as well as president of Emmanuel Health Education. So tell us a little bit about Emmanuel Health Education.
Well, first off, thank you for allowing me to be on your show.
You're welcome.
I am just extremely delighted. Emmanuel Health Education is the brainchild, or say the spinoff of a project that I worked upon for about 8 years at Bowie State University. Mm-hmm. It was entitled the National Minority Male Health Project. And the project was funded through the Office of Minority Health to do research and educate in our prospective communities and on the campus of Bowie State University. And we worked that project for probably 8-9 years, and we did a lot of research and education relative to prostate cancer, men's health, hypertension, diabetes, and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. The unfortunate thing is the project ended in 2013. And I just was at such unrest at all the work that we had done in our communities. Mm-hmm. And we were no longer able to get out in our communities and to complete our work. Mm-hmm. And I say complete because the work was unfinished, mm-hmm. Because of funding.
Right.
And I was at such unrest, and I was having a conversation with God one night, and He just took me to Emmanuel. And its meaning God before us.
Amen.
Baby Jesus and whatnot. And God gave me the name, and I pondered with it for a while. And at some point, it decided to really make a lot of sense to me. Emmanuel is basically about God being before us before we're able to impact and make changes in the way that men think in terms of behavior. Mm-hmm. And so Emmanuel Health Education is basically geared. We provide an array of health preventive messages in our community, Prince George's County, of course, relative to men's health. Amen. And we are geared towards educating men. Prostate cancer is just one of our areas that we tend to spend a lot of time educating and whatnot, what have you. Urological health overall is what we focus on in terms of educating men and sharing and advocating in that regard relative to thinking and doing things different. And I won't get into some of the numbers yet. That may be one of your upcoming questions relative to
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So thank you for sharing how Emmanuel Health came about. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned prostate cancer being one of the main focal points of this ministry that you have, because it's a ministry.
Absolutely.
And so share why prostate cancer and why it's so important for individuals to be aware of this particular disease and how it affects our communities?
Well, prostate cancer, and it's so unfortunate. Most of my work that we did was in the black community in the Prince George's County area. And when I was working on my doctoral degree at Morgan State University, and I got hold of information relative to prostate cancer in the state of Maryland. As a Prince George's County resident, I saw the numbers, and I was just astonished at how disproportionate the numbers were and still are in Prince George's County. In our county, we have mostly the highest incidence and mortality of prostate cancer. When I speak in terms of incidence, I'm talking about the number of men that were diagnosed within a specific time frame.
Right.
For example, from according to the Maryland Health Department, there's a cigarette restitution fund that shared numbers relative about Prince George's County, and from 2010 to 2014, we had the highest incidence of mortality than any other male racial group in the state of Maryland.
Wow.
And I feel such an affluent county, but our numbers are as disproportionate as they are, and continue to be disproportionate. And there's a need for the work that we do in Prince George's County, but it's not just Prince George's County, and it's not just African American men. It's actually men of African descent. So so that tends to transcend the state of Maryland. Now we're talking the U.S., now we're talking Africa, now we're talking about our Caribbean brothers, and the list just goes on and on with this. And so what I found throughout my research is education tends to be one of the larger issues. Screening tends to be one of the larger issues as to why our numbers are so disproportionately high. But I also like to say that there are just multiple reasons. Those are just two that I tend to, that I name, but there are multiple reasons why we have this issue. And
so basically African American men are dying because of a lack of education. Right.
Well,
and screening.
Well, I'd say, if I had to categorize, I'd say lack of knowledge.
For lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge. Yeah, and screening is our greatest defense, I believe. Now, there may be some controversy with some folks, some of the other medical professionals, they have their opinions, but when you get right down to the nuts and bolts about it, if you're not getting screened, in other words, if you're not being seen, if there's no detective process for prostate cancer, and prostate cancer is basically a hormone that floats in the blood, and they do a measurement, take a vial of blood and do a measurement, and depending upon the level of hormone that floats in your blood can determine the level of your specific antigen in the blood, the PSA. But the screening is our greatest defense against this thing. And I always say, if you're not getting yourself screened, you sort of take yourself off the playing field. In other words, you give this disease, a jump start on you.
Right.
And unfortunately, when it has a jump start on you and you're not on the playing field getting yourself screened, if something shows up and you do get screened, it may be a bit too late. Because once it begins to metastasize, when it begins to spread, it's a different play. It's a different ball game.
Yeah, definitely.
As with any cancer,
right?
It's a different ball game.
So, what are the statistical data with individuals getting screened?
Well, our numbers in Prince George's County are not that great. Men, we have all kinds of reasons for not wanting to go before and get ourselves screened for this disease. So,
but the PSA screening is just a prick of the finger.
Well, actually, it's not necessarily the finger, but in your artery or vein or something of that nature, we draw the blood. We draw the blood, and
but just a draw of blood.
Well, yeah, I guess here's the thing, and I like to I think women are more acclimated to going to the doctors early on in life with, your female things and whatnot. Men are, I think that because we're not, we don't start at an early age, and, we don't see it as a priority as women do, and we can tend to. I always say, we'll do the cars, we'll do the clothes, we'll do all the other things that are important, but we're not as intimate with our health as we are anything else, because our health is our greatest wealth. And if we're not reaching out in terms of our health as we should on a very intimate basis, and knowing and understanding, then we kind of do ourselves a disservice long term. You know.
So, with the PSA screenings, how could that increase the chances of survival? I mean, what?
Well, you know, currently, I mean, this disease is deemed so curable that if it's caught early, and catching it early is getting screened, and if you're catching it early, there's a 99 to 100% survival rate.
Wow.
You know, with prostate cancer.
So it is a cancer that is basically curable with screening.
Basically curable with you know, getting yourself screened early, and being proactive with it, being educated. I say education because the more educated you are, the more that you can sit down and have a informed decision conversation with your physician. You know what I mean? I always like to share with men that it's okay, you know, you go to your doctor and they'll do their screening and he'll do his counsel. And I said, but don't stop there.
Right.
Take the initiative to educate yourself further about your numbers. Know your numbers. Know what your numbers mean, you know. Take advantage in terms of staying up to date on the new innovative things that are out there, so that, you know, when you go to your doctor, you can have these conversations. Hey, doc, I was reading about this and this issue. Can you share some light on this? Is this an avenue that, you know? So those kinds of things are important, you know. That's why I say education's in the driver's seat, because the more you know, then the greater the likelihood that you'll be well in advance in terms of understanding this disease. Yeah.
All right, so you are joining us on Third Sunday Tea Talk Show. We are in the studio of VoxWave.com. We thank you, our listening and viewing audience. We are here talking about prostate cancer and prostate health. And we have our featured guest, Mr. William Battle of Emmanuel Health Education. Mr. Battle, share with us, although prostate cancer is a disease that attacks men, what is, or is there a role for women?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I say that, again, throughout the course of research out in the community, and even on my project, we had women that were very instrumental. When we would be out doing hair fairs, you know, sometimes we would have men that would walk right by the doors and we'd get the screening. And our staff would go out and she'd have the conversations, and she just had some uncanny way of getting these men to come back and get these screenings. but also wives were very instrumental in getting their men into the areas and getting themselves screened. You know, oftentimes I have conversation with guys that have been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and one of the questions I ask, I says, well, when you were told of your diagnosis, who were the first people that you were able to reach out to? Were you privy to any support groups or any of that nature? And they all tend to say, I wasn't aware of any support groups, but the greatest support was my wife. You know, so just as when on the third day when Jesus rose and when he out of the cave, there were women that he spoke with, and he gave them a message to share that he lives. Well, I think women are just as important as it relates to their husbands and going to the doctors and having a conversation in terms of being a support system. And I think that, and I don't think that we should exclude women when it comes to this. In fact, one of my colleagues, Dr. Denise Gooch, she's a radiologist oncologist, powerful advocate of prostate cancer. And Lord have mercy, if she was here, man, she'd suck all the air up out the room talking about this issue. But she's an advocate of it, and she's a staunch representative of her organization. But she also spends a lot of time educating and talking about how important it is to get screened, and she's a firm believer that no man should die from prostate cancer. So when you look at women from that regard, they have a vital role, I do believe, to play, in this issue. So women are very instrumental.
So women are instrumental, and
Very
women
instrumental.
can help save the lives of their husbands, of their sons, of their nephews, of their cousins, brothers, colleagues,
Well, you just have
by
women.
having that conversation.
You just have a way of getting your message across. Okay. You just have a way of getting your message
He's
across.
so diplomatic.
Let's just.
He's so
yeah.
diplomatic
Yeah.
with his words. He's so diplomatic. I ain't gonna mess with him at all.
I'm just saying.
I'm being
you know,
very quiet.
we're having at my church. We're having a health expo, and part of the health expo is the man cave. I'm chairperson of the man cave, and I've had several women at my church in our health clinic to ask me, can I come to the man cave? The man cave is basically an FMO, right? For men's only.
Right.
And I'm kind of, I'm sort of, it's like paradoxical movement. I'm thinking this way and that way, but I feel they should be included. I do. I just feel you should be included in the conversation. Because when it comes down to a man being diagnosed with this and going to a doctor and having a conversation, who's going to be his biggest supporter?
Right.
And when he's at home in the middle of the night, when he needs this and needs that, who's going to be sitting up in those offices? Who's going to be, who? It's probably going to be the greatest likelihood is going to be his wife or a significant other. Whatever. So I don't see the need to exclude women. However, I am confronted with different conversations about it, and as you say, Kelvin, I try to maintain my my
diplomatic.
diplomacy.
That's all. You're very diplomatic. I give you that. I give you that.
So I'm sort of,
So how can family members and wives and even other men who may want to encourage or be an encouragement to other men who may not want to get screened, what can they do?
Well, I think they, talk with the husbands, talk with the brothers, talk with dads, and just be willing to engage men in the conversation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'd be willing to bet that at a certain degree of men, a certain percentage of men, would be openly inclined to have the conversation with women just as equally as men about prostate cancer. When it comes if there were a urologist on board, she's very astute to a male's health and very familiar with the cause. I mean, with the issue, and so they would be very instrumental. So, talking to your son, and I run across it a lot. I talk to a lot of women and say, I'm always talking to my son about it. I'm always telling him that he should get himself checked and whatnot. I see that a lot. Talk to your dads, have the conversation, and everywhere I go, I have the conversation.
Okay. So, but what is one of the premier reasons why men don't? What is in the psyche of the man that they don't want to get, screened?
There are just multiple reasons.
Such as?
I think masculinity is one reason. I think,
And how do you? And if it's masculinity, how do you overcome that in trying to encourage someone to get screened?
I think one of the great, again, we go back to education because it's about being able to permeate the thinking and help men understand and to view and to see things differently about the test. Spend some quality time helping men understand that how this thing impacts particularly African American men and how we should be more engaged and we should move beyond that way of thinking because this thing is ravaging, our male population to a certain degree. And so we need to sort of find a way to permeate that way of thinking. And when we permeate the way of thinking, then we change the behavior. When we change the behavior, then, our prayer is to get men in and get men screened and continuously educate and continuously support in that regard. but there's just multiple reasons. It's not just masculinity. I think that environments that we grow up in that teaches us to be men. However, whatever your example is, excuse me. Some men, for example, some men growing up may hear a term, "You a man, men don't cry," and so you never know how those kinds of things transcends a man's thinking.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And I guess I've heard that the screenings are better now. So when you go to do the screening, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to get a digital rectal exam.
That's some of the conversation that I've had with a few medical professionals that there's been research out there that's saying that men don't necessarily have to do the digital rectal exam, but then there are some that continue to say the digital rectal exam should be given in tandem with the PSA.
Okay.
The digital rectal exam tends to be the more accurate because you get an opportunity to actually touch and feel for lumps or abnormalities and those kinds of things. Whereas the PSA gives you a readout, a blood readout, and from that you could get false positives, which basically says you have prostate cancer, or there's a flag that may indicate you have prostate cancer, but it may not be prostate cancer. And so those are some of the controversies with the PSA. But I do believe that in terms of new medical modalities, the exams are getting better, and there will be more tests that are more PSA specific. That picks up specifically the PSA, and so again, that's what Emmanuel is all about. We're about getting information out to men that you may not be privy to.
And free screenings.
Absolutely, free screenings. Yeah.
So one of our cousins who is also in the medical industry, Crystal. Hi, Crystal. She said men definitely need encouragement to keep appointments when it comes to health care. So that was something that she sent us a little comment on Facebook. Thank you, cousin.
Thank you.
Yes,
for sending that. But she's in the nursing. I think she's a nurse.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that that's an issue with men will find all kinds of excuses not to go to the doctors, whereas women, we will keep our doctor's appointments. Whereas a man, I'll change it. I'll any little thing. Oh, it's raining outside. I'll go tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Anything.
My mother is 83, soon to be 84, and I'm just elated at the way she always talks about going to her doctor appointments. And I listen to her share with me, I got to go for this. I got to go for my exam. I got to go take this. But she's on it.
Yeah.
At soon to be 84, she's on it. So I think that's just a testament to how women are just engaged, with their health. And not to say that men aren't. Okay.
It is definitely a different mindset, and I can talk from personal experience with my dad. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And it was difficult to get him because he was older. They didn't do surgery. They did injections every 3 months. He had to go and get these injections. And I literally, it was like pulling teeth to get him to go. And he would try to get everybody else to take him. He didn't want me to take him because he knew I was going to be going in there and asking all kinds of questions of the doctors. But I'm the baby and I was his baby,
right.
And he knew that. And I remember it was something right before my father passed away. He got in a cold, and I'm like, Daddy, you 76. You get a cold, you gotta go to doctors. You can't have a little cough can be anything for somebody older, and he was like, well, I gotta go for that shot on Monday, so I'm waiting until I go for that shot. And I begged, I pleaded, I did the crocodile. I'm your baby. I can't believe you're not gonna go. I did, and I still cannot. We didn't get him to that doctor's until Monday. He was like, I'm not going twice. So if I go there, he was like, then I ain't going again. I'm like, well, you gotta go on Monday. You gotta get your shot. So I just called the doctor. They was telling me different things to do to help him with the cold. And I mean, it wound up being pneumonia. But, you know, that older, stubborn, and that was, I mean, literally, it was, Daddy, I had to have, the doctors knew me because I called them and said, no, you need to tell me when his appointments are because I will make sure that he gets there. Because other than that, he wasn't going. He was not going.
And those are just some of the conditions, or just one of the conditions that, you know, that men, that we're faced with. You know, all men, you view things and you see things different. You know, I know. I've talked to guys. I was just talking to a friend yesterday. Guys like 55, 60 years old, and it's their claim to fame because they've never been to the doctor. And
oh my gosh.
And I'm just simply
How
saying,
in the world?
but you have no idea what's lurking on the inside. Of you,
yeah.
You know, so that's huge.
So, what age should young men begin to get screened?
Well, in terms of current guidelines, if you're African American or first generation, meaning like your granddad had it in that regard, your age range usually around like your 40s, something like that. But typically, for African American men, 45 and that sort of thing, you should be really. But you know, here's what I say: you're never too young to be educated. And so we even reach out to younger community, and even though it may not be prevalent in the age group, we like to have the conversation, you know, about it.
Hi, caller. Do we have a caller on the line? Hello. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Welcome to Third Sunday Tea Tastings and Testimonies. Who is this?
My name is Tracy Battle.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for calling into the show.
No problem, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Hello, Tracy.
Hey, Daddy.
I have a daughter named Tracy Battle. Would you happen to know her?
Yeah, I think I do know her very well.
Oh,
very
well,
well.
Thank you. Thank you for calling, sweetie.
No problem. No
Is there,
problem.
is there a question or something you want to ask Dad?
Oh, I was calling in to hear the show. I just was able to call in. So I was calling in to hear the show to learn more, just about prostate cancer awareness and things like that. So I don't have necessarily a question right now, but I do want to listen in and learn even more.
Well, thank you very kindly. I think this is just a testament to what we're talking about in terms of women and being energized to want to know and to understand. I want my daughter to know,
right?
You know what I'm dealing with. I want her to be in on the decision-making process.
Right.
That's right.
It's a disease that's confined to a man. However, it's a family.
It affects the family.
It affects the family.
The whole family.
You know, so you want to be able to sit down and have decision-making conversations with the family.
Right.
You want everyone to know what you're dealing with. And if you've chosen a direction to go, if you're diagnosed with it, and if you've chosen a direction to go with treatment, then you want the family to understand every level of your treatment.
Amen.
You know,
Amen.
you do.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling the show.
No problem.
We are here at Vox Wave Studio, www.voxwave.com, Third Sunday Tea Talk Show, and we are being educated on today. At Third Sunday's Tea Talk Show, we educate, celebrate, and advocate. And today we are being educated on prostate cancer health and prostate health. Have learned a whole lot. If you would like to ask a question, do a shout out, have any comments in reference to the information that has already been shared, or a question that may not have been addressed, feel free to call in at 240-719-2560, 240-719-2560.
Still on the line. She's still on the line.
Hi, Tracy, you still there?
I'm here.
Okay. Can you hang up and tune into www.voxwave.com?
I'll try again. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So, Mr. Battle, we thank you so very much for all the information that you've shared so far in reference to prostate health.
Hi, welcome to Third Sunday Tea Tastings and Testimonials. How are you?
Hi,
Hi, who's calling?
this is Carol.
Hello there.
How are you?
Good. So we have a registered nurse on the line.
I'm so glad that you all are talking about this topic. It's very, very important.
Can you speak up a little louder, please?
Yes, and I'm very glad that you all are talking about this topic. It's very important.
Yes.
Yes, well, just like Mr. Battle is saying, prostate cancer is very, very important that we are talking to everybody about. And I do actually have, it's personal to me as well. It's in my family. And so I make sure that not only do I talk to my patients about it, but making sure that even that my son is aware of it as well. And, as you said, African-American men need to know about it, not just, men, but African-American men. They're more likely to get prostate cancer than other men. They're twice as likely to die from prostate cancer than Caucasian. And then also, when they do get prostate cancer at a younger age, they tend to have it more advanced when it's found out. So it's good that we're having them go to their providers, get tested, know about their family history, talk about it. So this is a good thing that we're talking about.
Excellent. I like the idea that you shared family history because we hadn't really, I think Mr. Battle mentioned it, but hadn't gone into great detail. And I know that sometimes with some generations, some communities, they may not have that link to family history, which could be, a disservice because they don't really know. And to get tested younger may not be something that they're thinking about.
Exactly, and that's why we talk about those things generationally. And it's important when I talk to my members, I tell them, go prepared when you're going to your appointments, even before, writing down questions, because when you go to the appointments, things might not even come to your head. You may not even know. Sometimes people are either adopted, you don't know about your family history, but when you do have that information, knowledge is power. If you have a father, a son, a brother, a cousin, if that's in your family, you need to tell the provider so they know they can talk to you about testing. When do you need to get testing? Do you need to get your testing earlier? What kind of testing? Do you need digital, and do you need the PSA at the same time? Digital, like Mr. Battle said, is important. They need to have that digital. They may not like it, but guess what? It's important.
All right.
I couldn't agree with her more.
Well, thank you so very much for calling in and being a #1 supporter of Third Sunday Tea Talk Show.
Yes, thank you.
Amen. Keep doing what you all are doing. I'm so proud of you. Have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank
You too.
you,
Thank
you
you.
too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, Mr. Battle, she talked about hereditary. So, when we look at prostate cancer, can it happen sporadically?
All cancer can happen sporadically. Sporadically, it can be familial, it can be, and it becomes hereditary. And that's one of the things that we have our conversations about, and with when it comes to the prostate cancer, because if it becomes sporadically, it eventually becomes, hereditary.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Third Sunday Tea Tastings and Testimonials Talk Show. Who's calling?
My name is Jeff. How are you?
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Welcome to
I'm
the
watching
show.
the show, and the question I wanted to ask is that when they take your regular blood for your doctor's appointments for your physicals, do they pre-screen for that automatically, or do you have to ask them to do that?
Typically, when you're taking your samples for an examination, and unless your doctor is, and good doctors will be testing you for everything, and that can be one of the metabolic exams that taken. If you go into a physical, and if you have an age group, and if he's doing a metabolic panel on you, that should be one of the that he's screening for. Or you can ask for that. But it kind of depends also on what the chief complaint is. While if it's not a physical, and if you're there for some other reason, and if he's going to do a metabolic panel, let's just say he's just checking. They could be just checking for cholesterol, or they could be just checking for your A1C level, which is the amount of glucose in your system over a 60 and 90-day period. That kind of thing. So a lot of it can depend on the chief complaint, why they may be taking certain specific panels. But if you're there, let's just say for annual physical or something of that nature, then I think I would think that a good physician, particularly at an age group, certain age group, and African American, I would think that a good physician would be checking for the PSA, the prostate specific antigen as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I've been listening to the program, man. I just want to thank y'all for the information that y'all are passing across. And I've had friends that have died. Well, a really good friend that died from this, so it's kind of hitting home just sitting here listening to y'all.
Wow.
So just keep up the good work, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all keep up the good work.
Thank you for
And
calling.
I appreciate you calling. Voice sounds very familiar.
Okay, yeah, you might know. I used to pee on you when we was growing up. I love y'all, man.
That's actually my brother, Jeff.
All right.
Thanks for calling. All right, so Mr. Battle.
Yes.
I know that there's an event that's coming up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There's a huge prostate cancer health event that's coming up. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, let me just share with you how.
We got another call.
I guess
The
we
phone
can
lines are hot. Good afternoon. Welcome to Third Sunday's Tea Tastings and Testimonials Talk Show. Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, who's calling?
Okay. This is Rodney Britt.
Oh, Rodney.
Hi.
Hi, Rodney.
Hi. Hello, Dr. Pearson, Dr. Battle. How are you doing?
How you
Hey,
doing,
how are
Rodney?
you?
I'm doing well. Yeah.
Thanks for calling
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So I had a comment for you, and I had a question.
Okay.
Okay. The comment I had is as you know, I was afflicted with the
Right.
prostate cancer.
Right.
Just went through a treatment.
Yeah.
Which includes the radical prostatectomy. And as I saw that as being probably the viable way to go out of all the treatment types. But
Right.
one of the things that I do recall happening in that process is that the doctor did the PSA, but and then when the PSA came back very high, he did do a digital,
Right.
and my prostate was a normal size. So, and that was one of the things that really told them I needed to have a biopsy. Is that I didn't have an enlarged prostate,
Okay.
and prostate was normal. There was nothing to feel there, but the PSA was high. So that was one of the things that they felt one of the reasons they felt I needed to have the biopsy. And of course, the biopsy did show that I had a significant amount of low grade prostate cancer. That if I didn't treat over the time, it would have been probably a little more detrimental. So anyhow, but what my question is, and I'm about 60. We're in that age group, Will.
Yes,
but
we are.
my question is, one of the things I've been reading about, of course, I'm also a retired veteran. I was in the military, and I spent some time in the shipyard. And what I've noticed is that that nasty environment of the shipyard, which includes ships that might have had Agent Orange on it or asbestos, one of the things that I think I might have been exposed to a significant amount of while in the shipyard was asbestos. Do you have any numbers on exposure to those types of things and the incidence of prostate cancer if someone's been exposed in that type of an environment?
Rodney, that's a great question, man. And when you speak of Agent Orange, that's a hot topic. A couple of years ago, I was doing some research, and I found that that Agent Orange And by the way, some of the same chemicals that are used on residential lawns were some of the same chemicals used to defoliate the jungles in the Vietnam War. Wow. And if you were a boots on the ground soldier, or if you live near, particularly the Air Force guys, because they were the ones that sort of flew the planes that sprayed the insecticides that killed the weeds so that the American soldiers wouldn't be surprise attacked. But what's found is that Agent Orange is a carcinogenic, and as a carcinogenic, it is a cancer-causing agent. And so a lot of veterans that were in that Vietnam era, depending on where you were located in Vietnam, were exposed to Agent Orange. And there's a number of veterans that, and for a long time the VA denied claims over that, but recently, within the last maybe 2 to 3 years, they are compensating veterans that were boots on the ground soldiers with the Agent Orange. So what we're typically talking about here is environmental exposure. And you talk about the shipyards and and I've been on the shipyards, and I know how environmentally they can be in terms of with the work that they're doing. But environmentally, there very well could be, some exposure. Now, I know there's a huge number of veterans that were exposed to Agent Orange. In terms of numbers per se, I'm not totally privy to that. However, here's the thing that we need to understand about that. That's where the sporadic thing can possibly come into play. Years later, it can just show up.
Right.
And when it shows up, basically what we're talking about is there's a process when cells are reproduced and something get damaged by whatever means, whether it's an environmental means or whatever. It's like if let's just say you're printing 1,000 copies from a copy machine. If you're printing 1,000 copies, at some point you may get 1 or 2 copies that go bad, right? And if you don't make the correction, then the copies continue to go bad. And that's how it is in the system with the when the cells are damaged. And when we don't have those repair cells, like the BRCA cells, the BRCA cells, if those things get damaged and they don't repair, then you have a continuous duplication of damaged cells.
Right.
And it goes, what's happening with the Agent Orange or the veterans is you have that environment exposure or whatever you may have been exposed to, Rodney, and it damaged the cell, and it continues to reproduce. And so then you have offspring that can very well be passed down. And so now you have what's the hereditary part of it. Right. You see? So yeah, Rod, I don't have any specific numbers in that, but in terms of the Agent Orange, perfect example of an environmental exposure, or maybe something exposed to, a shipyard that can exacerbate the cancer.
Okay, yeah. And specifically, I appreciate that, Will, and but the other aspect was asbestos, because that was one of the other things I did see, is that, of course, asbestos, which is also carcinogenic, and it, can cause, lung-related issues,
absolutely,
such as mesothelioma. But also, I did see where, they are linking that also to prostate cancer. Yeah, and I guess a lot of this happened microscopically. But that was one of those things I didn't want to ask about. Had you seen any information on that or not? That's all. Yeah.
There's a ton of information out there. I sort of see Emmanuel as imagine an electricity plant that has all this electricity that goes into a regulator, and you have to regulate it, and you have to break it down and send it out to different homes to 110 current. That's how I see this prostate cancer. Emmanuel is like this organization that has to take all this information and break it down and give it to a layperson to where they can truly understand it. Take all the numbers out of it, take all the statistics out of it, and make it simple for people to truly understand. What we're talking about here. And one of the things that we do, we look at the data and look at the statistics, and we take from the statistics and the data what it doesn't say and share with people in simpler terms, what's going on here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, thank you for
Thank you,
calling and
Rodney.
joining us.
I appreciate that, Dr. Battle.
Thank you, Rodney. Not doctor yet, but I'm working on it. But, Rodney, we can talk some more about it if you like. I'd love to talk some more about it.
Okay. Hello, but before you hang up, can you, like my wife would like to say something also.
Sure.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Carrie Britt.
Good afternoon, Carrie.
Thank you for calling in.
Yes, I certainly enjoyed the conversation about female support with this issue.
Mm-hmm.
But as a nurse, I also wanted to bring up another comment. An individual had called in asking about, is this a routine screen for a physical? And I just wanted to bring that up, that there are different quality measures that physicians use on a routine basis, and it's really driven by your insurance. Mm-hmm. If you have private insurance, you are almost always going to be screened for prostate cancer. However, a Medicaid patient will not routinely be screened for prostate cancer, depending on if the physician uses what's called the HEDIS measures. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage every man, every African-American man, to be proactive and know what your physical and the labs that your doctor is screening you for at every appointment or visit.
That's great information.
So I hope that helps, because there's not one way that providers are going to treat you. Know your insurance and know the labs that they're drawing and why they're drawing. Be proactive in what is going on with you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you
so much.
That was a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
That's very important.
Yeah, great stuff.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you, and I look to talk to you guys a lot more in the future.
Yeah, very soon, Rodney. Thank you very kindly. Thank you, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Battle. So tell us about this prostate awareness walk, run, ride.
Well, let me share with how this thing came into fruition, because I think it's important. I was doing some research on cycling, and it showed me where African Americans and Hispanics were two of the fastest growing racial groups into cycling. But it also listed the age groups, latter 40s and 50s and 60s, and I said, wow, if prostate cancer tends to show its head, those can be the ages that it does, latter 40s, 50s, 60s. So why not do something? And I know there's a lot of African American cycling groups in the area. Why not put something together where we're currently doing, we can get crowds, and we can also do education and screening. And so that's how that was really the genesis of it. That's how it was really birthed. And so what the prostate cancer ride is, it's about advocating, it's about educating, it's about awareness, and it's about providing screenings in an area that we don't have. And I've had conversations with officials or representatives in the county that there aren't programs to the degree that we need that represents African American men. And so I kind of see it as making some noise for ourselves, because we don't have it like we do breast cancer, colorectal cancer, and cervical cancer funding. So this event comes about, the Prostate Cancer Awareness Ride comes about as a result of being able to provide those kind of services for men, free screenings. We're going to have September the 21st, practically a month away from now. We're going to have at Allen Point Park, starting at 7 a.m. to 7 to 1 p.m. We're going to have a walk. You can either walk a distance, you can run a distance, or you can ride a bike a distance. We're going to have a 20-mile ride and a 42-mile ride. But they're all beneath the umbrella of prostate cancer awareness, and we're hoping to raise funding to be able to provide screenings for. But we don't have free screenings at the event. However, in future, our future endeavors are to have funding to be able to provide screenings for men that don't have access to health care. And so quite a bit is going to be coming out of this event. This is the first of our many events. And prostate cancer, by the way, September, by the way, is deemed as Prostate Health Awareness Month each year.
Okay.
So that is the significant reason why in September. And
so September is Prostate
Health Awareness Month.
Prostate Health Awareness Month, September.
September, yeah. So again, September the 21st at Allen Point Park. and the county will be providing us with a mobile unit for screenings.
Amen.
Quest Diagnostics, they're going to be generous enough to come on board and provide us with the screenings for free, including their workforce. And so we're looking forward to a lot of screening a lot of men. We're looking forward to, and we're also going to have areas for, it's like a family affair actually, because we're going to have areas for kids to ride, on their bikes, and you can ride on the outer perimeters of the park. We have a ride designated for that. We got something for everybody.
Okay.
And I'm also saying, even if you don't walk, run, or ride, if a male, come and get the free screening.
Come and get the free screening.
Yes, it's free.
Come and get the free screening.
A little bit of blood.
All right. So we also have your opportunity for some dialogue and talk. And Darius Stanton, who's a local celebrity here, he will be emceeing, as well as Chris Thomas, comedian Chris Thomas, will be out there, a comedian for the cure, and some other individuals having a dialogue and talking as well at this event. So that's Prostate Cancer Health Awareness Walk, Run, Ride, Saturday, September the 21st, 7 o'clock a.m. at Allen Pond Park, Bowie, Maryland. So we can't leave here. Our time is almost up, but we cannot leave here without a defining moment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just a word.
Okay.
See, we've had Suddenly this year. We've had Reboot.
Yeah. Reset. Reset. And I'm this whole discussion, it hit home with my dad, and then a really, really good friend of mine was diagnosed with prostate cancer and had to have surgery and things of that nature. So it definitely hits home. So I'm sorry if I was a little quiet, just I guess allowing my mind to reflect back. But we have I'm a part of a prayer ministry, and each morning at 6 a.m. we have prayer from 6 to 6:30. And one of the other founding persons, lead prayer partners for the 6 a.m. prayer, she's identified a few of us to give a 1-minute spiritual vitamin every morning. And mine was, I had one on Monday, and then I had one on Friday. So, because there's 4 of us that do that. And my Friday, when I woke up, I was like, Lord, well, what is my word for today? And my word that he gave me was believe. And of course, he took me to my favorite scripture, Luke 1:45. Blessed is she that believes, for there shall be a performance of those things told to her from the Lord. Now, yes, in this particular instance, he's talking about Mary and Elizabeth and the baby leaping in the womb, because we got Jesus and John making this connection in the womb and getting the Holy Ghost and all of that. He got the Holy Ghost in the womb before he even came out. But the word believe, God just wanted me to expound on that, and I'm still there, because when we look around, and I mean, even talking about a topic like this, cancer, it's prostate cancer, but it's still cancer. And that's such a doom and gloom kind of word. But God says, give everything to him. Whatever he's promised, whatever he's spoken, whatever he's said, it shall come to pass. But we must believe. And so the question is, whose report are you going to believe? Even if you are diagnosed with prostate cancer, God is a healer. Yes. He's the physician of all physicians. He's the healer of all healers. He is the Alpha and Omega. He is the beginning and the end. So there's nothing, earlier on in that same passage of scripture, Luke 1, is there anything that's impossible for God? No, there's nothing that is impossible with God. So even if you do get a diagnosis, even if some bad news comes, if God promised you that he's going to heal you, then he's going to heal you. If God promised that he's going to deliver you, if he's going to deliver you. If he promised you a new house, you're going to get a new house. If he promised you a new car, a new job, whatever he said, it's going to happen. But it does have to do with our faith. We got to believe God.
That's right.
We've got to believe him. When he gives us the word, if we don't mix it with faith, then it prosper us nothing.
Absolutely.
But it must be mixed with faith. And so when you get up, whatever my pastor, he preached to us today from Joshua walking around that wall them 7 times. And he said, this week, I need everybody, every morning, get up and walk around that thing symbolically, whatever it is. God, I believe you for what you said. I know what you told me. And I don't care if it's been 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Mary, they had to wait a long time.
That's right.
Before their words, their promises came to pass. But God's promises are yea and amen.
Amen.
So it does not matter about the longevity of the time. It doesn't matter when he spoke it. It just matters that you believe. So again, I ask the question, whose report do you believe? Because I believe the report of the Lord.
Amen.
God bless you.
And that is our defining moment. Thank you for joining Third Sunday Tea Talk Show. We are here with Mr. William Battle of Emmanuel Health Education, and he is promoting this prostate health awareness walk, run, ride. We want you all to join in that. Go to www.emmanuelhealthedu.com. That's emmanuelhealthedu.com, or you can inquire on Third Sunday Tea Talk Show. But we would like for everyone to join us on Saturday, September the 21st, 7 o'clock a.m., Allen Pond Park. You have my information. Feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to Evangelist Carolyn or Mr. Battle. We want you to be there. If you can't be there, please donate. You can do that at www.emmanuelhealthedu.com. Mr. Battle, last word?
Well, I just think that I thank you both for having me on the show. I think that this was a grand opportunity to get information out there. It was a great opportunity to have the conversation. Thank you to all the listeners out there for your calling in and your questions and your comments. And we just pray that folks come out and be engaged with the event. And I pray that men really get focused about their health in terms of the prostate health, overall health, but certainly about prostate health.
Yes.
And we really appreciate the opportunity. And I want to say one last thing, and we're having a powerful conversation at my church next Saturday. Okay. We're having a health expo at First Baptist of Glenarden, First Baptist Church of Glenarden, and we're going to have a very powerful prostate cancer conversation.
Amen.
Okay.
And we're hoping that any man at all. But if you're a prostate cancer survivor, we really want those guys to come out and be a part of the conversation.
Amen.
Excellent.
Amen.
Well, thank you for joining us here at VoxWave, www.voxwave.com.
Yes.
We look forward to seeing you next month right here on Third Sunday Tea Talk Show, where we educate, advocate, and celebrate. See you next month.
God bless. Thank you. Thanks, Facebook. God bless you.